Welcome back. The heater's off. Yay! All right, so hopefully you found the mirror neuron piece interesting. And if you'd never heard of mirror neurons before, hopefully that's new. If you had heard of them, hopefully you enjoyed the part where you found out about the monkeys and everything. But anyway, so we need to have these mirror neurons in order for us to be able to display empathy. So it's probably somewhere around 18 months or older that we start to develop this tendency for altruism or pro-social behavior. Here we have one child feeding a snack to the other child. That's very empathetic. And look at those mirror neurons at work where the kid is actually making the face of taking the food into her mouth that the person who's actually taking their food in their mouth does. It's like so much emphasis or evidence for empathy. So things that go along with altruism: advanced reasoning skills. Right? Like you have to be able to put yourself in the other person's shoes. You have to be able to see them as like you, for you to be able to then empathize with them. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into being able to empathize with someone else and want to do good things for them, even if you're not going to get anything out of it. It takes a certain amount of self-confidence to feel like you might be the person who could help somebody else out. Right? Like that takes a certain amount of self-confidence. So we're going to see empathy developing and altruism developing across childhood and into adolescence, because the child is going to be getting more and more self-confident that they've got something to offer to somebody else. There's an association between being a popular kid among your peers and being an altruistic person. So again, there's something about these social skills that are necessary for popularity and that are also necessary for altruistic behaviors. So what can we do as adults to help kids to be more pro-social or altruistic? First off, parents want to try as much as they can to help develop that secure attachment. One of the things that the secure attachment does for us is it makes us more exploratory, more willing to try new things. And that could include not just expecting everybody to take care of me, but also me being able to do stuff for other people. Parents can set a great example for being pro-social, right? Like if parents volunteer their time, if parents are helpful, if parents stop and help somebody with a flat tire. If parents set these kinds of examples, then the kids internalize them. If the parents hold their children to high standards, right? Like you need to share that, reminding the child that they have things to offer, that they have skills that they can donate, other kinds of things. They need to expect from their children honesty and helpfulness. No, you don't get to sit there and watch TV while the rest of us are getting everything ready. We're all going to help. We're all going to do it. I need you to be honest with me about things that have happened. Giving children responsibilities at home, big step towards them being helpful and altruistic in the future. Having other role models available. I mean, sometimes they might be TV role models. A lot of parents have their kids watch, PBS shows or whatever, hoping that they'll internalize altruistic behaviors. I've got to say, I got punished for some PBS viewing on my children's behalf, where my daughter was watching Arthur, if you guys recall that one. And in the show, this little girl with glasses comes to class, and the kids all tease her and call her Four Eyes. And then at the end, the kids are supposed to learn how much it hurt the little girl's feelings and not to call kids Four Eyes. Well, I mean, when you're a 6 to 11-year-old, you might lose track of the plot halfway through that. And I know my daughter at 8 years old did. And so the next time she saw a little girl with glasses, she called her Four Eyes. I'm like, where'd you get that? And she goes, well, it was on Arthur. And I was like, wait, Arthur told you it wasn't nice at the end. She didn't remember that part. So, having good role models that the kids actually can process, I think I would like to add on, that they can actually internalize. All right, well, let's talk about emotions and how they're developing across childhood. So we see some changes in what kids fear across childhood. If we go back to early childhood, we'll notice that like the 2 to 4-year-old expresses a lot of personal safety fears. They're scared of the dark. They're scared of, I got this off of a British website. So wardrobe, we want to say closet. Fears of sleeping alone, fear of the weather, especially thunder and lightning, really common. Fears of shadows, and it could be even their own shadow that they're scared of, because why is that thing attached to my feet? Fear of loud sounds, it may startle them and then they cry and they're very scared of it. By ages 5 to 7, now they're really focusing in on like fear of the dark, maybe fear of going to the doctor, sudden loud noises, insects and animals, friends rejection. Oh, we're starting to move a little bit into this middle childhood area, friends rejection. By middle childhood, kids have really shifted away from those kind of primarily personal safety fears and more into what are called preternatural fears and then school-related fears. Preternatural fears would be things like ghosts, vampires, werewolves, things like that. They also have fears of losing some beloved person, like, grandma or something like that. And then we start moving into things like school-related fears, like they're going to fail at school or disappoint their parents. They do still have a little bit of personal safety issues, like they might be scared that evil people will get them. I don't know if they would say kidnapping per se, but they would definitely think the evil person could get them. And that's not that different from thinking that there's a monster under your bed, things like that, right? So you see this shifting across childhood from early childhood very much focused on themselves and what could get them to middle childhood, a little bit of that still being there, but a lot of just sort of, I don't know, did we start showing them movies with ghosts in them when they were too young? I'm not sure where they get the preternatural fears. But the school-related fears, you could definitely see where that is because now they're really enmeshed in the school years. All right, our final issue for this chapter is always to end with Erikson's stages of psychosocial development. And in this stage, we're looking at the industry versus inferiority conflict. One of the things our textbook talks about quite a bit is how industrious kids are during this age, and that they'll spend, a lot of time working on something that they're really interested in, and they'll be willing to do maybe a whole sheet of math problems, or they're willing to spend hours painting their model or whatever. So they show a lot of industry. Sorry, I want to say industriousness, and I keep saying industry, but with the wrong emphasis. If they're thwarted in that goal, if people tell them that the thing that they're wanting to put all their industry into is not worth their time or doesn't matter or something like that, you can build a sense of inferiority, or that the product of their industry is not good enough, that you got all of these wrong, go back and do it again, or that, look, I see you painted your model, but look at all these places where you smeared it, these kinds of things. You can build inferiority. So the favorable outcome is that the child through all this industry ends up understanding how things work. They can organize things. They maybe start to really find out what they really like and what things they don't like. Those kinds of things. It really builds confidence. The unfavorable outcome on the other side would be, because they're feeling inferior, they're going to develop a lack of confidence and low what we call self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is a personality trait where you have a belief about your ability to be successful in a particular circumstance. And so having low self-efficacy means that you might not even try something because you're like, I probably can't do it. I probably won't be any good at that. So we definitely don't want to build that in children's minds if we can avoid it. And so now, do we tell them that every industrious thing that they produce is the greatest thing ever and, they're just geniuses? Or, do we balance that with some useful feedback? Useful feedback, obviously, and useful feedback, not hurtful feedback. It doesn't need to be, everything laid bare and actually with some insults in it. But instead, I see that you added this problem wrong. Would you like to go back and try it again? Or hey, that model looks great. What part do you like the best of it? You don't have to mention the smears if they're proud of how they painted their model, right? So that's the idea, is to build on their self-confidence, help them to grow on the skills that they need to be growing on, and that'll help to propel them into the next stage with, as much of their psychic capabilities with them as possible. All right, that concludes the middle childhood. I will see you in adolescence next.